I know, right?
Kick it with a bass sound.
This is my beautiful friend, Jasmine Luke.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, today we'll be talking about the colonization of Guyana. What do you know about, like, the history of Guyana before, like, now?
Well, what I think I
From, like,
remember,
high school or...
what I think I remember from school
Uh-huh.
is that Europeans came and then they brought the Africans with them,
Uh-huh.
and then we had the indentured servants,
Uh-huh.
and that was like the East Indians and Portuguese and Chinese,
Yeah.
and then that's how we end up with 6 races.
Okay, well, like, today I'm not going to be going into, like, all that. I'm going to go into just up to the part where, like, the British took over.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. I learned the same thing in high school. Apart from, you forgot the part with the Amerindians, how they came.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they crossed from Eurasia over the Bering Strait.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was like 11,000 years ago. And like 12 to 35,000 years ago. So, you know, like they had the 2 main tribes, the Arawaks, they used to live on the coast. The Caribs, they used to live in the interior. And then in 1492, everybody knows Christopher Columbus, he discovered the West Indies.
Mm-hmm.
But he never really actually stepped foot in Guyana. He just like first sighted the coast,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then on his 3rd voyage in 1498, that's when he actually sighted Guyana. And then the next year, in 1499, Alonso de Ojeda, he actually met with Amerindians on the coast. He was a Spaniard, but he never really claimed Guyana or like that part. And you gotta remember,
Christopher Columbus would claim like the other islands.
Right. So then, like the next year, they named Guyana from all the way from the Amazon. It's like French Guyana. It wasn't like the 3-4 countries. It was just from after like a little bit off of French Guyana all the way to Venezuela was Guyana. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like Suriname or like Dutch Guyana, French Guyana, anything like that. It was just one thing. So yeah.
So question: The guy that made contact with the Amerindians, where was he from?
He was from Spain.
Okay, so he was Spaniard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? The only reason why they first got like interested in Guyana in the first place is when this guy Pizarro, he found gold in Peru. And that's how like there's this thing saying about like, you know, like they're interested in gold and like El Dorado and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why they're always coming to Guyana.
Right.
Going to Guyana.
Right. They had this one man, he was also from Spain. I think his name is Don Pedro Malverde Silva. And he investigated the region between the Essequibo River and the Oyapock River. Yeah. So he came to do the whole expedition or whatever, and it was a disaster because the Caribs killed everybody except one person. Right, and not funny, but yeah. And so the only survivor, his name was Juan Martinez. He said that he begged the Caribs to spare his life, and they did. And he lived with them for 10 years in the City of Gold. So that's how, like, you know, that the whole El Dorado thing came up, but we never really actually found...
Did he escape?
Yeah, he escaped like 10 years later. Mm-hmm. And he escaped to through the Essequibo River, and he ended up on like the island of Margarita, which is in Venezuela. And there he actually told the people that he was living with the Caribs, and they were living in the City of Gold, and yada, yada, yada.
So the City of Gold does exist. According to him.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah.
Right. And then, okay, in 1581, after the European provinces, Netherlands, they were like, they had like their leadership through the Spaniards on them. So when they gained their independence, when they declared, they didn't really get it yet. When they declared their independence, it caused the war between the provinces and Spain until 1648. So between this period, it was just, you know, about the Spaniards and the British claiming territory and like a whole lot of wars and stuff. And then in 1598, large reinforcements arrived from Spain, and like they had like this big war between them and the Amerindians. Mm-hmm. And they came with like 479 men, but the Amerindians killed like 350 men. So pretty much
a lot.
Yeah. And Amerindians literally been protecting Guyana from like
They won.
Right. You know, like so anyways, when the first Dutch arrived in 1598, and his name was Abraham Cabello, right? He was the actual person that first like colonized. So when the Spaniards came, they moved to Venezuela. They didn't really stay there.
This guy is Dutch, you said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. And then he noted a couple rivers between the Carantine and Orinoco River, and like these names were renamed. So it was Berbice, Apari, Mahekawini, Maheka, Demirara, Desiquibi, Puruma, Magua, and Waini.
So wait. Like all those places, rivers, I apologize,
Right.
are Dutch names?
Yeah. And then like they were renamed. I think when the British took over, they tried to like make everything English. So they were renamed to Berbice, Abari, Maikoni, Mahika, Essequibo, Pumaroon.
They put their own swing on it.
Maruka, Waini, stuff like that. So by 1613, the Dutch were settling various parts of the Amazon to Orinoco, because remember that whole area was one thing. They didn't separate it yet. And then the Spaniards showed up and then destroyed the Dutch post in the Carantine River. It was big war.
Oh, so like that's how like most of them forts.
Yeah.
They're destroyed like currently.
Yeah. So in 1616, the Dutch captain Adrian Guggenhegen or something like that, his name, was trying to pronounce it in like Dutch. It never works. Everything it's so bad. So he set an Eskimo and built Fort Cacoverall. And then, you know, Fort Cacoverall is 30 leagues of the Eskimo River. Right? I've never been. Have you ever been?
No.
We need to go.
We do.
Right? He did that in 1616, and then he was the first person who said like between him and the Amerindians, they did like a lot of trading. So he was the first person to open up the interior of Guyana to trade and settlement. And his settlers, they lived very friendly with the Amerindians. That's what they say. And then in 1621, the Dutch
said, you keep saying that's what they say. That's
because
facts.
like
yeah, they could have tell me
anything, you know. So the Dutch,
they be lying. Yeah.
And then it's based on like whoever took like detail of what was happening at that time too. So in 1621, the Dutch States General granted a charter to the West India Company. We getting there. The West India Company is pretty much like they held like this monopoly of 24 years to just trade between the countries of America, like North America, South America, and the West Indies. So they're the people that actually brought the slaves to, you know, and like they West India Company, right? So with that charter, they could have built fortresses, appoint governors, soldiers, justices, officers of justice, and establish colonies in Esquivel. So that's how. So technically, even though the Spaniards, you know, met with Amerindians first, the Dutch were like the first people to
settle.
Yeah, and colonizers. So at that time, so when the West India Company arrived, they had like Adrian Guggenhegen or whatever his name is. He was there too. So and then when the West India Company came, they their what is it called? Their officer was called Adrian van der Hoes. He was like an appointee. He was the appointee. So in 1627, Abraham van Peer, he's a Dutch trader. I think that like he was granted permission to establish a private colony in the Berbice River. So
they first settled in Esquivel.
Right.
Sorry, I'm just trying to recap. They first settled in Esquivel, and now they're going to Berbice.
Right. And like the West India Company had a problem with him settling there because they're pretty much saying that, oh, you can't settle where we have a company. Right? But you already know me, my Van Peer, he settled anyway. He colonized anyway. He didn't really care. And I think it's because prior to like everything that happened, his dad was the one that got the permission to
settle there.
Yeah, but he never did. And then like Abraham was like, okay, Dad.
Carrying on the legacy, of course.
Right. In that same year, a fort was built and settlers planted crops and traded with the Amerindians. African slaves were also introduced right after the settlement to cultivate sugar and cotton. So in 1633, a new Dutch settler in Esquivel came from Tobago, and they joined the Grenadian settlement. Since the other settlements by the Dutch West India Company was abandoned, then there's a situation where we don't really know who or when the first Africans arrived, because they either came with people from Tobago or they came with the West India Company. So we don't know. In 1648, the independence of the Netherlands was recognized by the Treaty of Munster, which was signed on the 30th of January 1648. And then that's when like trading regulations, because of that treaty, they created a trading regulation where indicated that the whole coast between Orinoco and the Amazon was treated as belonging to the West India Company. So they owned that whole place, even though they didn't really discover it.
So this still has parts of Venezuela.
Yeah, because the Orinoco River currently is located in Venezuela.
Okay.
Right? And then in 1657, a contract between the New Zealand Chamber and the West India Company, which they agreed to establish companies under the supervision of the States General and the company. They sailed to Guyana the next year, and according to the agreement of the terms of the partnership, provisions were made for a slave ship to be sent to bring slaves from Africa, as a supply of labor. It was essential to working in the colony.
Yeah.
So they needed
so black. Like the second set slaves now.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume.
Right.
You said there was
it says before, and I guess let's assume that because they saw that the people from Tobago and their slaves how it worked, they're like, oh yeah, we should do this too. Yeah. And so right. So when they got there, a new settlement was made in Cameroon. Cameroon, right?
Originate.
What?
Region 7.
No.
Cameroon there.
You said. Remember, they weren't going into the interior; they were just on the coast.
Hold up. Region 1, Region 3. Oh, Cameroon Super now Region 2. Right? Am I right?
Yeah. And that's when the first town was established called New Middleburg. Is it still there? I don't know.
I have no idea. Because
most of the names got erased and stuff. But anyway, so a fort was built a few miles higher up, and that's the first fort that was built called Nova Zealandia. But that's not the one that everyone is going to know. That's not the big one in Essex River.
That's the one they always talk about in school, though. Right. That's the one they stress a lot.
But that wasn't built first. The first one was built in Cameroon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in 1665, everything was peaceful until the attack by the English privateer. So with this, this was a war between the English and the Dutch, and the same year the English also seized the Dutch settlements in Essequibo.
I don't mean to cut you. So this is in 1665.
Mm-hmm.
So up until now, we were Dutch. We were still Dutch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. In doing this, with taking the settlement from the Dutch, the English had help from the Caribs to seize the colonies.
Oh, so I mean, things probably weren't going good with the Caribs and the Dutch. Then I'm going to assume we weren't there.
Right. Right. So they helped seize Nova Zealandia and Cameroon, and they also occupied Fort Kaikoura and Essequibo. Okay. So I guess they were pretty much all over. Huh?
I know that name.
Kaikoura. Yeah. So in 1671, since they couldn't capture Berbice, right? Because they also went to Berbice. Mm-hmm. There was war in the east, war in the west, war
all over.
So because they couldn't capture Berbice, the Berbice administration attempted to expand the colony by establishing a trading post to the west of the Damar River, which wasn't occupied at the time because no one was there. So the first colony to be established was Essequibo and then Berbice. But Damar, I guess, was last. So
which is funny because Demerara is the biggest and the most populous place right now.
And no one really lives in Essequibo River.
Yeah.
No one people live in Berbice, I guess, still. But I feel like because of that and the whole segregation and stuff, that's why Berbice is when people say you're going Berbice is you're going somewhere else, they're so far, they're not really connected.
Which is weird because remember Essequibo, Demerara is in the middle of Essequibo and Berbice, if I'm right.
Right.
So why would they move all the way to Berbice and skip over Demerara? I mean, I don't know. Probably, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But
because it's all still on the coast,
right?
Okay, makes sense.
I don't know. But
probably didn't want to be next to each other.
No, but then again, I think it's because it was two different colonizers. So I think the first one, what did we say was? The first one was Abraham Cabello, right?
The second one was Alexander.
No, not Alexander. Adrian Green or whatever. But then again, he also said in Essequibo. Mm-hmm. But that's when Abraham Van Peer when he got the agreement to establish in Berbice. So I guess it's two different Dutch people. So they didn't have like agreement to be like, oh, after from Escape we're gonna go to Denmark, and they just separated. I don't know why.
Or it could be where the land.
True, that too, because yeah. Anyways, in 1671, remember they wanted to extend further to the Denmark River, but the West India Company, this company girl, this. Anyways, so they objected to the presence of the trading post since they claimed that Demerara felt Demerara. Say Demerara.
Demerara.
I said Demawaro.
Tight tongue like.
But anyway,
It happens.
so they claimed that Demerara. I said it right.
Yeah. You got it. You did. Sorry.
So they claimed that Demerara was under their jurisdiction, so they didn't want like no one else to establish anything.
Who claimed?
The West India Company. Out of nowhere. Anyways,
sound like some bullies.
Right?
They just come and upset everything, just gotta feel like.
Right. So the British administration, they couldn't extend, but so they put the trading post and moved it to the Abari River, which eventually became the boundary between Berbice and Demawara. I didn't know that. I didn't even know what the Abari River is. In 1679, the Dutch established a trading post on the Pomo River again because remember they attacked it.
Cameroon.
Yeah, so they had to do it all over again. And in 1681, Essequibo expanded the actual plantations along the Cayenne and Majorini rivers in the middle of Essequibo. So now, since they were already there, they started to like create plantations along the way, all the way to Cayenne, Majorini.
Oh, so now we had like Region 7.
No.
Cayenne, Majorini is.
Yeah, it's in the middle, right? Okay, I started. Right.
Because, you had me like for a minute. I mean.
Right. So they extended colonies plantations all the way to Cayenne. That's far.
Yeah.
Because when you go on Escobar right now and you travel down, let's say you're going to South Island, whatever, there's nothing there. But anyway, so 1684, the Caribs were also like the allies for the French buccaneers. And they also helped the French to destroy Spanish and Dutch colonies. So there was like a lot of war going on in Guyana since like from the jump. And that kind of troubled me because we're still warriors
to this day. Still in the blood.
Right? So since the Caribs helped the French, they were also expelled from Suriname. So that's how they traveled to Berima, and that's in Region 1, and like they stayed there. The Berima River.
So who expelled them from Suriname?
I guess the Dutch. I don't know. But they stayed there even though they knew that like that region was controlled by the Dutch. Big bottom brave.
What you want to do?
So eventually they became really important to the Dutch because of the trade, and they became friends. So in 1689, another European war was being waged. Beer war. Yeah.
Again?
Yes. The French privateer Jean-Baptiste Ducasse attacked Suriname and Berbice in 1689. He failed Suriname but held Berbice at ransom, where Commander de Frere of Berbice agreed to pay 6,000 guilders before Ducasse agreed to withdraw. But anyway, in that same year, the Buccaneers attacked, aided by the Caribs again, attacked Cameroon again. So between the 1708 to 1714, a war of Spanish succession started at this time. That's in Europe. But remember, anything that happened in Europe affected, right, the war of Spanish succession. It caused war between the French, the Dutch, and the English. So the French attacked the settlements in Espanol again. They also attacked Cameroon again. So there's no rest. Like, that land is just disturbed land at this point.
I'm guessing that's probably why nobody wants to go there.
It's just like, I don't know, but the Amarin is still there. So
it's like when we say somebody's give you something with a bad spirit, like, they didn't want to give you back your money when they owe you. You tell them just keep the money if you didn't come with a bad spirit. So that's why.
But yeah, but like, can you imagine like the first area to be established with Essequibo? Like that was supposed to me, like that was supposed to be the capital. Yeah, that makes sense because it was colonized. They had plantations. They had money. In 1712, Berbice was attacked again by a French buccaneer, Jacques Cassard. I hope I'm not butchering these names. And the Dutch commander, de Waterman, was forced to surrender the colony, right?
I'm wondering how we reached back to the West India Company.
Girl, they're never going away. Okay, so Baron de Muniz, he was a ship commander. He demanded 10,000 guilders for the private estate and 300,000 guilders for the fort and the Van Cleef family estate. They didn't manage to get all of that. They managed to get like 118,000 guilders, and he accepted it with promissory note for the remainder. So to ensure that he got his payment, he left with 2 members of the Berbice Council.
So,
Gotta get it. Yeah, because he held them at ransom.
What?
Right. And then that's not the only thing they took. They took 259 of the best slaves. 2 big shiploads of sugar.
That's a for me.
Right. And then after that, Berbice suffered an economic decline because
the best slaves went.
And they had to give pretty much all the money that they probably had, which sucks. And to this day, right. And to this day, you can still like kind of
the effects of it.
I think. I'm not sure because I've went to Berbice like twice.
And it wasn't even for a very long period.
Yeah, or wasn't for no tour or anything. We need to go. Okay, in 1716, the council opened up Escribo to anyone who wished to settle in a colony. So
this is the same council with 2 members just get kidnapped from?
No, this is in Escribo.
Oh,
Yeah, that was in Berbice.
That was Berbice. Apologize.
Yeah, so when he opened up Escribo, when the council was more than one person, when they opened up Escribo, English farmers from Barbados, Antigua, and other West Indian islands, they came and resettled in Escribo. So 1722, Commander Anthony Tyrants was ordered to establish new plantations and introduce coffee. So now we used to do sugar, cotton, coffee. Right. So in Berbice, he was able to establish...
Sorry. Mm-hmm. I do think I remember learning that in school. Like, I was big for that back in the days.
Coffee?
Yeah, and they got in our country, man. Like in primary school, like, they used to teach you that.
Yeah, but I can't...
Like, I think I learned it. Like, I heard it sometime a while back.
I thought it was just sugar. I think maybe they cut it out because I guess we were better at producing sugar.
Yeah. But no, like at one point in time, like I remember my grade 4 teacher, she would tell us that at one point in time, Guyana used to support like the entire Caribbean with trade. I don't know. I probably just remember it wrong.
You could be right. So in Berbice, Anthony Tyrants, he was able to establish plantations: Johanna, Cornelia, Jacoba, Savannah, Hardenbrook, Daggerad sound familiar.
Daggerad.
Yeah, man. I think Daggerad still exists, right? Anyways, Hoagland, Elizabeth, and Deborah. Those are all plantations. I think they still exist because it's in Berbice.
Oh, well, we wouldn't know.
I think I heard Daggerad on the news or something before. No? Okay.
No idea.
In 1732, Bativa, it was an island in the Cayenne River. I need to go to these places. They had cultivation of coffee and cocoa by the African slave laborers. Hurts my soul. In 1732, by this time, Berbice showed economic improvement because now they get slaves.
Good, yes.
Right. So the association had 12...
still got slaves, but, it's just good that they're improving.
Right. So the association had 12 estates, 93 private plantations on both banks. Big up, no plantation in the place. And 20 on the banks of Kanji. They produced sugar, coffee, cocoa, and cotton.
Business woman.
Right. After being robbed, I held at ransom. So in 1742, Lawrence Tom Van Zandy, he was appointed commander of Essequibo. He encouraged the settlers to come to the colony, but a few came. So then he invited the English, and they came. Whap! I don't think that the English would ever stay.
I don't think they left after that. Because we became English. We speak English.
Yeah.
Everything.
So in 1744, the Dutch seat of government was moved from Caratabo to Flag Island. Flag Island is now called Fort Island. That was now the newly built Nova Zambia.
Okay.
Which is what everyone is like goes to now.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the big thing.
Yeah. So business grew after building the fort in Esquivel, and there was another shortage of slaves because of poor health conditions, and they didn't have enough female slaves to reproduce. So they had to go get more slaves. So in 1746, Garzani made a decision that agricultural development moved towards Demerara. So he began to grant land on the banks of the Demerara River for sugar cultivation, and within 2 years, 18 plantations were established.
So I'm guessing it was a smart choice, or
Yeah, but what hits me is that like they have all these plantations, we producing all this sugar. Like you explained that like we supply the whole Caribbean. Why are we a third world country again?
True.
I think if we as Ghanaian people know like our worth or what we were capable of, we could.
Graves Andy, he's Dutch.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but that's what most of those countries did, though. They send all their monies back to the mother countries, and that's how like England and France, like that's how they're so beautiful, because they use all that money now to develop their country and just left we in the dust. And
it's so sad though. But I feel like at the end of the day, they did not take the people that were doing the work back. So it's like I believe that it's kind of like a situation where why would the slaves want to continue working if they get their freedom, because they're probably so tired of it, or like they probably have like trauma for working or whatever. But like if you look at it, like we're the reasons why they got that money to take back home. Yeah. So why don't we do it for ourselves? So anyways, in 1748, Garzani erected a guardhouse near the mouth of the Mar River. And that's where Georgetown is today. Oh! Right? And this provided protection against the settlements and stuff, because people were scared that like the French and the British would come back and boom, 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 fight war. Yeah, in 1752, the recommendation towards the Mar was accepted, but he still went to do his own thing. He right. And he was appointed Director General of Esquivel, and his son was also appointed Commander of the Demerara.
Okay, so he get Esquivel and his son get Demerara.
No, he was the Director General for both. For both Esquivel and Demerara, and then his son was just. So I guess the father stayed in Esquivel and the son was like in Demerara, because he established the capital of Demerara on the island of Berceline. When you're going up, I always wanted to know what was there. So there's the island, when I say you're going to Linda and you're going to Mary, there's like an island in the Demerara River, like all the way up, and like nothing is there. Is anything there? I don't think anything's there right now.
I don't think I've ever seen that island. Well, I've only went to Linda like 2 times too.
You went in highway?
Party.
It's a drive up the East Bank, man.
Yeah, but
because it's all the way past farm. I think it's a couple miles. It's like 25 miles. But that was supposed to be the capital of Demerara, and clearly it's not. So in 1762, as Berbers developed,
why would they make an island?
I realized they used to live on islands. I don't know.
Easy contact with the sea too, because remember, like
that's the
back
only
then,
way.
Ships was like a big thing.
True.
Because that's how they used to move about. We didn't have planes and all that, bro.
Right. And in the land, we had cars, we had streets. Yeah, you're right.
So the fastest way was by boat.
Right. So in 1762, as Berbice developed, the planters saw the need for a fort near the mouth of Berbice, since Fort Nassau was badly needed repairs. It was finally built on the mouth of the north bank of the Kanji River. This fort was named St. Andrews. New plantations were established, and the Berbice plantation population, 4,423 people, with out of that whole thing, 326 were whites, 244 were slaves, and like 3,833 were African slaves.
So we could have revolted, unless I'm guessing they probably had guns at this point. I don't know.
We could have.
What were they using?
Guns?
Yeah.
But then again, remember, like the Amerindians too, they knew the land very well. So even if we escaped, the Amerindians were friends with the Dutch people. They could catch you quick. Yeah, they know the interior more than we do, because we came and we couldn't leave the plantation. We had to work there, whereas the Amerindians were kind of free, kind of not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how the slave.
I'm guessing they had leverage too because they could like teach them certain things that they didn't know about the land.
Exactly,
too.
and trade.
Yeah.
So I think they used to trade like dyes and crab oil and stuff like that with them. I guess they used to give them sugar, coffee, whatever. I don't know. A slave rebellion occurred when the owner of the plantation, good fortune Lawrence Conkler, I'm so sorry, left for Fort Nassau. So the slaves did what they had to do. They burned down the woman's house. I think it was a woman, yeah.
Period.
Right. But in order to recapture the slaves, the Caribs were crucial to the Dutch efforts in capturing the slaves. So,
well, so you were right. They did capture us.
right. Do you think that the Amerindians and the blacks have like a really good relationship at home?
I don't know.
I think they're very to themselves.
To me, the Amerindians have always kept to themselves. To me, I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never really been around them a lot, but like in school, like you'd have a few Amerindian friends, and to me, they've kept to themselves. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that they probably knew more than we knew.
More than what?
Like dealing with slavery and blah blah blah. I think that would cause them to keep to themselves. So I don't know, but and then too, I guess after that, and they finally like, I don't know. I think black people probably didn't like them either because if I'm trying to escape and you come
keep capturing me, yeah, for sure. I'm gonna have something against you, yeah, for sure.
Right. So maybe that's why too. So it's like they know that like we're not at a war anymore, but they're still like tired. They're probably tired. Generation occurs.
But then probably what was going through their mind is better you than me.
That's true.
Because if they don't get you, like if we keep helping you escape or whatever, we don't like they might kill the Amerindians instead.
Right.
They might capture them and enslave them. So
do we got to survive? Anyways, so yeah, on from February 23rd, 1763, slaves on plantation Magdalenenburg and the Kanji River in Berbice rebelled, protesting harsh and inhumane say that word, inhumane treatment. Okay, so that's how there was a slave uprising. Coffee,
What is this coffee time? Oh yeah, 1763. Yeah.
Right. It was the biggest slave rebellion. And it started when a revolt broke out plantation in Hollandia and the Berbice River next to Lindenburg. I think Coffee used to work on Lindenburg as a cooper. I think after the whole problem within the African slaves, their military unit or whatever, I think it was one person should be. A lot of people didn't agree that Coffee should be the one to be ruling. Let it be somebody else and whatever. From since then, that's how they were the Dutch got to capture the escaped slaves again.
Oh, because of the disagreements, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Coffee said, you know what? I'm just gonna kill myself. I don't ever want to be a slave again. I'm just gonna kill myself. So that's how he committed suicide. And then after him was this.
Was he born in Guyana, or was he brought?
I think he was brought. But he died and he did a lot for those people. But eventually, this other guy named Atta, he took over, and it was said that it was the biggest rebellion because it lasted for 10 months. Yeah. But they eventually captured them again.
But they held out a pretty long time though.
Those that rebelled got killed, and then some of them had to be slaves all over again. So I think Atta was murdered or something like that. But yeah, a lot of stuff went down at that time. Lord. A lot of bloodshed too. Anyways, so in 1764, the next year, the Dutch reorganized the colony of Berbice after the Berbice rebellion collapsed, and a small town grew up around Fort Nassau, which continues the capital. I've been hearing around about Fort Nassau. I think I know where that is. So
I think you know.
I think I know. I don't want to say I know and I don't know. In 1770s, the development in Demoir far surpassed that in Esquimalt. Demoir was doing good things, They're moving up.
So, they didn't have troubles with rebellions and so on, and the slaves there.
I think they did, but remember the Caribs could help them.
So they were easily controlled in Demerara.
Yeah.
As compared to.
And then if news traveled, then they probably hear, hey, I know what I'm having coffee. The man killed Atta, that man.
Gotcha.
Maybe. Anyway.
Or it could have been like, well, they saw like what they were lacking in those other parts of Guyana, and then like they said, you know what, we need more, do I say like more men to guard the slaves?
Yeah, right.
And they brought in more defenses there.
From British or Britain or Netherlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about the
Dutch, yeah. So in 1781, an American War of Independence, the British captured Escobar and Damara. So they combined Escobar and Damara as one colony, but Berbice was separate because they were run by
the British captured them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the British allowed the settlers to retain the property within Escobar and Damara, but the West India Company, whatever plantation or which part they owned, the British captured it and they seized like all of their stuff. But the private like planters, and they couldn't keep their stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So within with the British in control of the colonies, there was an influx of English settlers from Barbados, and they were given land grants along the coast to cultivate, the same thing: sugar, cotton, coffee. Mm-hmm. So a fort was built under Lieutenant Colonel Robert Kingston. He's British. At the mouth of the Damara River to protect.
Don't need to be.
Right, to protect the harbor, and this fort was called St. George. Mm-hmm. So in 1782,
St. George's Cathedral too.
Right.
Yeah.
So in 1782, the Dutch seized the colonies from the British, and the following year, when peace prevailed, they gave it back to the Dutch when the war ended. So the British came over, they took Escobar and Damara, then the war broke out, I guess the French one, and then they gave it back to the Dutch. So they had like I don't know.
The French one?
Yeah, and the French seized it from the British, and then a couple of years later, they gave it back to the Dutch.
So that was okay.
Yeah, like it was always a fight between the three of them, and the Spaniards too, to like claim Guyana. We were important.
Period.
We still important if you only know that we are, and stop acting crazy sometimes. In 1782, yeah. So before they gave it back to the Dutch, they built two forts at the mouth of the Damara River. A fort on the east side was called the Dauphine, and the one on the west bank was called the Reine. So in 1791, a town, New Amsterdam.
We know what New Amsterdam. Yeah. You know what this is.
So New Amsterdam was firmly established and became the new capital of Berbice.
What year was that?
1791. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right? That's like 200 years ago.
That is not.
Anyway, so Britain was invaded by the French in 1795, and the Dutch head of state, Prince of Orange, fled London and urged all those colonies to go under British protection because the French captured Britain. Mm-hmm. And I guess he was scared for his life, so he ran. Mm-hmm. And he told all the colonies that were not under British protection, go under British protection.
Oh, because the French is gonna keep.
Yeah. Okay. So in 1795, when the British warship came in May, they arrived in.
People like fight. Sorry.
But you can imagine traveling by boat or by ship.
Wow, these people like fight. Just to fight.
By ship from Guyana to England. For war.
But then they could have had like reinforcements from, like you said, some English settlers came from Barbados and so on. They could have had like
did the warship
coming from Britain.
The warship came from Britain. Wow. To put into place the instructions that Prince George said. But the people were like, no, because remember they're Dutch people there. Mm-hmm. They've been under Dutch rulership for a while now. So when they came, the people was like, nobody going on no British, excuse me.
Nobody got time to you.
But then the opinions changed very quickly when the planters learned that, what's this man's name? Victor Huge. He was an extremist leader of the French Revolutionary. He was proposing that the African slaves in the West Indies and Guyana should be provided with guns. Well, not guns. Let me say weapons. Right? To free themselves from their masters.
Lovely.
Then again, I don't think the slaves had an opinion.
Yeah.
I think the Dutch planters had an opinion. Because we were just owned. Like, we were just things.
Yeah.
Right? So the Dutch planters like, I'm not, because remember you're Dutch. If I come from Netherlands and you're telling me that I should be ruled by British or whatever, hell no. Mm-hmm. But then if the French people are telling me that he's going to provide my slaves with weapons for killing me.
Yeah. Protection, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. In 1796, by 1796, 7/8 of our property in the Amara belonged to English settlers, and it produced
So they
substantial.
gave it like all the way in 1796. Okay.
Yeah, but they weren't like they didn't own us. They were just like settlers.
Oh.
So the Dutch give them an opportunity to just sit there, make some money and some sugar, but they start running things after a while.
They come like the bullies. First was the West India Company, and now it's the British. We see you. We see you.
Right. So Escriva and Mara and Berwick were seized by the British once again. Because remember, the Dutch got it back after the French got it, and then took it back. So in Berbice, over 100 new cotton plantations were established, and slaves were imported in greater numbers, growing the slave population from 8,000
People love the cotton.
from 8,000 to 17,000 between 1796 to 1802. That's like almost like
6 years.
No, yeah, but like from 8,000 to 17,000, that's pretty much like double the word. Okay, in 1802, there was a Treaty of Amiens in March 1802 where Esquire de Moira and Berbice were handed back to the Dutch, only to be seized again by the British in September of the following year, when war broke out in Europe.
So the treaty, you know anything about this? Like, why did we have the treaty to give it back to the Dutch and then they get seized? Like,
they remained in possession of the British, to whom they finally ceded when the war ended in 1814. So after that, before that, the year before, in 1813, the English planters owned the Dutch and English investors' money. And the British planters felt that the situation could improve. The situation wouldn't improve until the colony was owned by British.
There was a treaty,
right? That gave it back to the Dutch.
Right. And then they were recaptured by the British.
So the English settlers said, you know what, we owe you money, but I think that this situation could be solved if my country owned these colonies. I don't know, because I don't see how like it's gonna get better. Like, how is it you can provide this money for these people if your people rule us?
Well, you said that they were given like,
but they could still do their work under the Dutch. They
want to be ruled. They didn't want to have, they didn't want to have to answer to anybody.
Yeah, I guess. So, anyways, they got what they wanted. The British took over, and the debt was settled. Yay! So, at a convention in London, confirmed the British captures of the colonies. The convention decided that Britain should keep the colonies, and it was like that. Everything's like that, and that's how like the British got to like keep them until we got our independence in when did we get? When did we get our independence?
1968.
Oh, okay. Just checking. But yeah, everything remained the same, and then that's when I think King William IV. So he issued a commission that stated that Essequibo de Mar and Berbice were now all one colony called British Guyana.
Oh, okay.
And then we just stayed like that until we got our independence, and then we changed to Guyana and stuff like that. So that's it.
Well, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I did not know that all of that happened. All of those wars and all that. All right. Bye.